So I'm going to share my screen and show you my GoLand window here. I'm running on Windows, but I'm using the Windows subsystem for Linux. So I'm actually running this in the Linux subsystem, not the Windows subsystem. And that's because I am just not completely migrated over to the Windows side of the world yet. And I probably never will be because it's kind of nice this way. So I've been using Vim for years and years and years, and I've got a lot of Vim muscle memory going. But I make an effort to play with all of the editors that come out because my job, as many of you know, is to teach people Go and Kubernetes and Docker. So I run across a lot of people that have different preferences and want to use different editors. Some of them, all the way down to straight plain text editor, and others want something as complicated as a large IDE. And when I installed GoLand for the first time, I was shocked at how full-featured it is, and I was a little bit surprised at how much I enjoyed it. So I have not uninstalled GoLand. In fact, I've migrated to use GoLand most of the time. When I'm in development mode, I use GoLand more than anything else. The only time I fire up Vim these days is if I'm making a small edit and I just want to do it quickly. So that said, it's been a little bit of a learning curve for me to do a larger editor, and I was going to share some of my tips and experience for that today. So what I've got open on the screen is the source code for the GopherCon website. Excuse me. And the GopherCon website is a great example of a project that really benefits from the features of GoLand. So this is a Buffalo web application. And if you're not familiar with Buffalo, it's sort of Go's answer to Ruby on Rails. So it's an MVC type layout. It's got a folder where all of the controllers live called actions, and it's got a folder for models, and then it's got a folder for templates. And then the main file lives in the root of the project. And it also has things like migrations. So it's got a database involved, and even a concept called grifts, which are very much like rake tasks. So if you're familiar with Rails, Buffalo won't be unfamiliar to you. This project has a database, and it also uses an external content management system that's available as an API. So the first thing that I did when I started up GoLand was go into the settings and looked at the Go settings. So the Go root specifically was automatically detected for me because I have one installation of Go. But if you have multiple installations of Go, you can choose different Go roots and operate on different versions of Go, which is very handy. The Go path, I have chosen not to set a global Go path. And the reason I chose that is because most of my teaching projects have their own Go path. So when you check out the code for one of my classes, the source repository itself is the root of my Go path. So when I'm in a classroom environment, the project that I'm in will be its own self-contained Go path. And I really appreciate the fact that I can choose to set a Go path globally or set it per project. And if I had checked this use Go path that's defined in system environment, I wouldn't have to worry about changing the Go path or messing with it at all if I had a single Go path in my system. But I do very much enjoy being able to set it per project because that reduces the amount of work I need to do. Build tags, I haven't played with any of these settings at all, and I don't really feel like I need to. Under imports, I have a sorting style set for Go imports so that it sorts my imports on save. And then on the save, I thought I had it set to run Go imports, but I guess I hadn't. And that's pretty much the only settings that I've changed in GoLand. Oh, the last thing that I did, and that's probably the most important thing for me, was under the plugins tab, I installed IdeaVim. And I've been using Visual Studio Code and Atom, all of the different text editors I use pretty frequently just so that I can help my students as they're trying to configure their Go environments. And I will have to give the biggest kudos to the IDEA team because this IdeaVim plugin is as close to running Vim inside your editor as I have ever seen. It's truly impressive. All of the Vim shortcuts that I use are built into IdeaVim, including actions like writing and quitting. So when I hit :WQ, it closes the buffer I'm on and it saves it, which is very, very impressive. Far more well integrated into IDEA than any other. So I enjoy the fact that I don't have to lose my muscle memory in IDEA. And if you're coming from a text editor like me, this makes all the difference in the world. I don't want to touch arrow keys. I don't want to have to learn a bunch of new commands yet and keyboard commands. I just want to be able to operate in the same environment that I'm used to. So you can see that as I'm typing in here, I'm using my J and K keys to move up and down. To move between words, I can use the standard W shortcut. Capital I takes me to the beginning of the line and puts me in insert mode. Capital O inserts a line above. Just all of the basic Vim commands that I'm used to, including the : command. So I just hit : and if I hit W, it will save. So it's just like Vim, but with all of the extra power of the IDE that IDEA brings. So one of my favorite features of IDEA, especially in Buffalo development, is the fact that it offers a database plugin. So I'm going to start my Postgres database here quickly. You won't be able to see that. So just started a Docker database that has my Postgres database running. And if we look at the database configuration for this application, you can see that I've got a username and password of Postgres. And let me just double check my makefile to make sure that that's exactly what I have set up. So the database is called gophercon_development. And I can go in now and connect using GoLand to a Postgres database. It's running on localhost, but I'm going to change that to 127.0.0.1 just to be safe. Database will be gophercon development, user Postgres, password Postgres, and I have to install the Postgres driver, it looks like. I've not done that yet. No, I have. Secret password store error code. I have no idea what that is.
So Brian, sorry to jump in. I think you need to click on the download for the newer version of the drivers.
Okay. Where is that button?
So if you go back to the database tools to the configuration, you can click on the database with the spanner. Yep.
There we go. Oh, download missing drivers. That's what I was missing.
Yes.
I knew there was an installation bit. Okay, let's try that. There we go. So now I have access to the database and any of the tables that it might have. I can open up a console to the database. So with that, I can just type, whoops, that's not what I wanted to do. my database editor. Oh, the Vim plugin works here too. It kept giving me an error. I wasn't able to type. So I can use select statements, and it will show me all of the autocomplete options that I have. Very impressive ability to go in and do direct SQL. I can also, I don't know why my tables aren't showing up in here, but I can also use the table editor feature, and it will show all of the rows in the tables and allow me to edit those real time. So it's very handy in terms of the ability to do database development. I enjoy that database plugin quite a bit. You'll notice that being a former terminal user, I have pretty much everything set up to hide. You know, I don't want all of that extra eye candy on my IDE, so I've collapsed the project window, I've collapsed the database window, I've collapsed all of these extra things down here for version control and the terminal. I do enjoy the terminal quite a bit. Having a terminal built in just saves me the necessity of having a second terminal running so that I can do commands like the Buffalo dev, which would run the Gopher.con app for me. So in terms of Go features, the plugin is incredible. I'm actually probably most impressed with how well the IntelliJ team, and I know Florin's committed quite a bit of code to that. I'm impressed with how well they've done on getting great integrations. When you click on a type, for example, you can get the usages of that type. You can go to the declaration of the type. So all of the things that I'm used to using with my Vim Go plugin, they're all here. I can see implementations, the type declaration itself. Clicking on all of these types gives me all of the information that I might want about them. So the declaration of that day type is in the content directory in a completely different project, but I'm able to open that up directly inside here just by asking to jump to that definition. So all of that works flawlessly, and it's very nice. The autocomplete is really good, even better than Vim's autocomplete. So when I type c.set, you can see that it's got all of the information about the method set on the C type, and C here happens to be a context. So I could just hit tab, and as I'm typing, you can see the fields for the parameters of this method are set as, are on the screen as tooltips. So I know that the first thing that I need to enter here is a string. And as I move to the second parameter, I'll get a tooltip for an interface. So I need to set some object. So I can just use null, nil, because I don't really have an object to set here. This is just a demonstration. But that's really impressive. And I like the tooltips because with the Vim Go plugin, you can hit a key combination to give you the method signature at the bottom of the screen in your immediate window at the bottom of Vim, but it's not in your line of sight. So having those tooltips right where you can see them and use them, especially for longer function signatures, that's just really handy. What else do I absolutely love about GoLand? Oh, when I'm teaching a class, and this won't be applicable here, but when I'm teaching a class, GoLand has the idea of these run configurations. And in my classes, I might have 20 different binaries that are included in the same source repository. So with those projects, I can create a new run configuration for each of the binaries, and that allows me to run a web server as if it were a web server by giving different arguments to each of those commands. So I could create commands in my run configurations for each of the different applications that are included in the tutorials for my classes, and that makes it really simple to just hit the run button and demonstrate each of the applications that I'm using as I do them. And I like that quite a bit. In the case of this GopherCon app, there's really only one run configuration, and that's using the Buffalo dev so that I can preview the web browser, which is like running Rails locally. The refactoring tools I have not used yet. I've seen a demo of them, and they're pretty impressive. Code folding, I've completely turned code folding off except for the imports, which I enjoy. And the navigation I use quite a bit, although I haven't yet used any of the shortcuts. I haven't learned these shortcuts yet, but I will start to. Particularly enjoy using the move to test shortcut so that I can just hit Control-Shift-T and go to the tests for this package. And I like using the file structure and file path. I use these quite a bit, which I'm used to using in Vim with the Nerd Tree plugin. And then I spent a little bit of time just playing with each of these tool windows that they have, the projects, the favorites, the to-do structure. I haven't used the to-do plugin yet, but I see that it shows me where there are to-dos listed in my source code. So that's kind of handy, but I haven't used it. I use the terminal constantly, and being a command line person for years, I am warming up to the idea of using version control from the IDE, although generally I do almost all of my Git operations directly from the command line still. It's very nice, especially I've still never figured out how to do a proper complicated Git merge, and GoLand makes that painfully simple. It's just so nice to do a merge inside an editor instead of on the command line. So when there's any complicated merging, I will absolutely come into GoLand and do the merging there. So that's kind of my experience with GoLand. I've enjoyed it quite a bit, and I'm really impressed with how well it runs. It's completely cross-platform. I have a Mac, I have a Linux desktop, and I have a Windows machine, which we're on now. And GoLand works flawlessly across all three. The experience is exactly the same across all three. And that's been also very helpful for me as a person who uses multiple operating systems. So all in all, I'm really impressed with the project and how well it works, how much attention they paid to a Go developer's workflow. This is not a PHP editor or a Java editor that's just been retooled. This is very much a Go IDE, and it's something that I've stated for a very long time. Go adoption very much depends on having a good, solid Go IDE. So I couldn't be more excited about having GoLand around so that the people who want a solid IDE like this have that option. So that's kind of my experience with GoLand, and I'm happy to turn it over to Florin now, who can talk about all of the details that I haven't yet learned. Florin has been working on the open source plugin for IDEA for a long time and contributed greatly to the success of GoLand as an IDE. So I'm actually honored to be sharing this space with him. He's far more knowledgeable about GoLand than I am.
Thanks, Ryan. I think you are giving me way too much credit on this one. But yeah, thanks a lot. It's an honor to be here with you today. Let me see if I can figure out how to share my screen. Okay, I think you can see me, correct?
Yes.
Florin, just a quick comment. If you could increase the font size, I think it would be better.
Yes, so it's part of the tips and tricks for the whole presentation. So As you said, sometimes you might need to increase the font size, and you can really do this in a simple way. You can open the settings, and you literally everything that you can think of in terms of configuration, you can find just by typing. So let's say I want to zoom, right? And you can either have a dedicated shortcut, which you can see, or if you start browsing, you will see that there's an option for that called change font size with Control plus mouse wheel. So we can do that. And you can see something that's a bit bigger. But then again, sometimes you don't want to do that, or you're in a presentation. So the IDE itself has a presentation mode, and to enter in the presentation mode, we can go to View and then enter presentation mode, which will make the IDE look like this. Increase the font size. You will have still the line numbers if you want them on the side, and a bit of coloring based on what the status is on Git, if the file is committed or not. But basically, it will otherwise increase everything else and make all the toolbars and so on disappear.
Hey, look at this new tool I learned today. This is awesome. I could have used this last week in class, but I will use it next week now. Thank you.
So yeah, and as you can see, also the menu size is increased as well, so that people can also see what happens. And you have a screen in a tiny clock in the right corner to see what's the time and so on. So you can use that as a trick to also check on your presentation time and how you're doing. And yeah, we can exit the presentation mode, and there's another mode that you can use if you're alone or with a colleague. It's called the distraction-free mode, which basically turns every other thing off. You still get to keep the Git details if your line was changed or added and so on, but otherwise you don't have any other toolbars on the screen. So I guess for someone like you, Brian, that doesn't really like having too much of the IDE Chrome on the screen, that could be a useful feature.
Yeah, I like that a lot.
So yeah, it's under View, distraction-free mode. Or if you really want to find any other setting in the IDE, you can basically go under Help, and you will find the first item is called Find Action, which is pretty much all you need to learn as a shortcut in the IDE. This one and double shift, which is search everywhere. But basically, Find Action will allow you to say something like distraction, and there it is. You literally can interact with the IDE by just typing a few letters and saying either distraction or anything else. Or the search everywhere, which I'm not really sure you can see it on my screen. Again,
it's visible, yes.
Again, the same principle, distraction, and then yes, it's there to toggle. So depending on the environment you're in, you have different choices for this, which for me is pretty useful. As you said, sometimes you are in a presentation in a classroom and you want to increase everything and remove let's say parts that are not needed. But otherwise, the IDE, for me, it looks like this. You can toggle the rest of the tooltip windows by just clicking on the corner, left corner. There's a tiny button. You click on it, and you hide most of the visible things as well. So yeah, I hope I covered that one. Let's see some of the features that the IDE has for you. For example, are the if you look at the code right now, you'll see things like name here, or usage, or pattern, and you might wonder, okay, what are those? Those are called the parameter hints, and they were added in the 2017.1 platform release, and it's very useful, especially if you're looking at a code that has a lot of parameters, or you're not really familiar with the base and so on. And let's say we would have this file, this application split in two files, right? And you wouldn't be able to see the definition of the function instantly. You would be able to do that, like we have here for the flag one. Or if we would send here true, the IDE would tell you instantly, yes, it's in that parameter is called debug mode. So you don't have to go to the definition using Control B or Command B if you're on Mac. You simply have to look at the code, and that's it. You can read it.
Florin, can I interrupt for just a second?
Yeah, sure.
When I was teaching last week, I had a class full of 30 students, and I was using GoLand exactly in this mode. And one of the students raised their hand and they said, what is the little gray text right before each of the parameters? And I told them that it was a hint of the name of the parameter. And everybody at that point stopped and downloaded GoLand, because just that feature itself was such a treat. 30 people were downloading GoLand instantly. And I think I converted the whole class to be using GoLand over whatever they were using before. That one feature is so nice, especially when you've got a long parameter list and you're not really able to see the source of the function that you're calling. So, I wanted to interrupt and say what a showstopper that particular feature is. I love that.
Oh yeah, definitely, and feel free to jump in at any time. It's you have the experience of being in the class the whole day, so yeah. There's another feature of GoLand which you probably won't find in any other editor out there, that is a bit more important when you actually edit code. So, for example, this file, we can see here that everything is rather okay. We have an unused import. We can remove that quite easily using the formatting from the IDE. And now everything is green. But what we have here in this file is technically a broken source, because we don't import anything from HTTP or from FMT for things to work. Yet, if you look at the code here, you can still read the code, right? You can still see that the handler accepts 3 parameters. You can see this one as being named correctly and so on. So that's a really powerful feature of IntelliJ platform in general, and GoLand in particular, the fact that you can work on broken source code and you can do a lot of things based on it. And for me, that's pretty important as well, because if I'm refactoring something, I definitely don't want to fix all the problems before I learn if the code is broken or not. So yeah, for me, that's huge. And yeah, speaking of the IDE telling us how to, or helping us how to fix the source code, you see that just by simply being there in the broken file, it says, oh, I found multiple FMT packages. I don't really know what to import because I can't make the decision for you. What should I do? And if you press Alt-Enter or Alt-Return on Mac, you get presented with a list of choices for the packages that you want. So this applies to all sorts of packages. For example, the rand package from crypto or math, which was a common problem for a lot of people when they were trying to use rand and they were using Go imports directly. And Go imports was choosing math rand over crypto rand. And you can imagine the problems that can appear from that. So rather than making a decision for you, the IDE will say, oh, okay, I'm not really sure which packages because they all look the same I should use. So let the user do that for us. And yeah, I've selected FMT, and now I get all the hints for the FMT related functions. And same goes for the HTTP package. I have multiple HTTP packages, as you can see. So I decided to import the Juju one, which is unfortunate. So if I undo, the IDE will ask me again, okay, which one do you want? So let's say I would like the probe package. You just have to start typing in that without touching anything else, and GoLand will start to shrink the list of import packages. And this feature you'll find pretty much anywhere there's a list of choices in the IDE. Everything is searchable. You can start typing folder names, or you can start typing file names, and you'll be able to just jump there. And I'll show that in a second. So our file is green. You can also have a quick visual check without having to compile the file itself. On the right corner here, I'm not really sure if it's visible. It says analysis completed, no problems found, and it's a green check mark. So without you having to do anything to compile the application, you can already know if the file is okay or not, which is pretty important. Yeah, so coming back a bit to the navigation. So let's say I want to go to see the Gorilla Max package, right? Which is, in my case, in the vendor. So I simply need to click on the panel, the project panel, and then I can start typing vendor, or VND in this case, and I have that. If I type enter, because it's the only package that's in there, the IDE will unfold all the directories automatically up to the point where either it can't do it anymore because there's nothing to unfold, or there are multiple choices. So that's pretty cool. It saves you a lot of navigating around. And yeah, let's say I want to see the mux file, right? I can just type mux, and now I have two choices. I have either the package name or the file. Simply press up arrow or down arrow, and you can select whichever you need, and then enter, and you enter in the file, which is pretty cool.
So that almost, I'm sorry, Florin, that almost seems like it would be analogous to me using Control P in Vim, where I want to open a file. So if I just set the highlight on the project editor and start typing, I can open up. Oh, that's so amazing. Look at that.
Yeah, so there's one more shortcut for that.
Okay.
Let me see if I remember it correctly. Control-Shift-N or Command-Shift-O on Mac, which basically allows you to find any file. So let's say mux.go, and you can find the file. But it can do something else as well. So let's say you're working on this project, right? And you want to see something that's not included in the project. You simply have to type the shortcut again while this is open, and that's it. You basically have access to all the files that the IDE can find. And yeah, let's say I want to view the one in Kubernetes. I can just have a look on what's in Kubernetes right now.
Oh, that's impressive.
So yeah, for the people that might not be familiar with the IDE and my setup particularly, my Go path is around 20 gigabytes or so of Go packages, and not only. So yeah, everything that you see here happens in real time. All the inspections, all the navigation. So I'm not sure
now,
if it's.
Yeah, there is a caveat to that, and that is if you have a giant Go path like Florin and I do, the first time you allow GoLand to index that Go path, it takes some time. So that's something that you need to get used to. And I promised everybody I would be honest about my experience with GoLand, and that's the only thing that I find to be just a little bit frustrating, is that the index time to index your Go path, if you have a 26 gigabyte Go path like I do, it's going to take 15 minutes to index all of those files. The benefit is that it does all of that beautiful auto completion and finding and stuff after it's done. So you only have to go through it once, but it is a little bit annoying the first time.
Yeah, definitely. Like that's probably one of the things that comes up when using the IDE and so on. Usually people are saying, "Oh, it takes a lot to index," but as you said, the benefit is that you can pretty much do anything in terms of analysis or navigation afterwards in your whole Go path, and it's not limited just to the Go code. One of the reasons probably it takes you so long, so like 15 minutes. It's because I guess you have some JavaScript in there in your Go path.
Quite a bit of JavaScript in my Go path, so it's probably indexing all of that too. And that's a good segue into one of the things that I really appreciate about GoLand that I forgot, which was the HTML capabilities are awesome. They're far better than I had my Vim editor config for. It does opening and closing bracket matching and JavaScript debugging. You know, all of the things that you would want out of a wonderful JavaScript IDE. GoLand does that too. I forgot to mention that earlier. And that's awesome when you're working on a Go web app. That's really cool.
Oh yeah, definitely. So that's one of the things that people need to be aware. The more plugins you have for different languages, the more indexing can take, because there are different languages that have their own data set to be included and so on. And speaking of languages, let's say I want to try a different language today. So I would go to settings and I would click on the plugins, and let's see what language plugins do we have. If I click in the all category and I start typing languages, I get a bunch of things here. So for example, one of my favorite is the bash support plugin, because I might be on Windows now, but at work I use Linux. So I write a lot of bash, and I want all my bash related things to be completed. So there's a plugin for that. Or if you fancy Clojure, there's a plugin for Clojure that's available, and so on and so forth. You'll see a lot of languages. Dart, for example, or I think, okay, so this one is the Elixir. And if you search, yes, there's even a Rust plugin that you can use in your Go IDE. So if you ever want to work on something that includes a Rust module in your Go application, you can do that from the IDE without having to switch IDEs or do anything else, which is pretty cool. Other tips and tricks. Yes, probably I've said this already, but especially if you're new to the IDE, one of the things that you need to remember is that there's an overwhelming amount of configuration happening, which is true. I'm not going to hide that. It took me a while to learn all the things, and I'm fairly sure I don't know them all yet. You can basically search for things, and you'll find them. So let's say I would like to see what's the color scheme, right? So I would say color, and the IDE knows already what I want to do. I can either choose the appearance, and okay, there's something about the vision impaired or deficiency persons, and they can adjust the color theme, or you can color the files. Like if you remember, like in your view, Brian, where you see the test files with a custom hint of green, right? You can change that. So you can basically say, oh, I want orange or brown or anything else. So you can make your files highlight in different ways. Or you can go to colors and fonts, and you can see the themes that you have installed. And in this case, I have my own customization of the default dark theme, the dark claw one, which I've made just so that I'd be able to customize how all my things are displayed. And I can see if there's a private interface or a public interface by just looking at the color. So if you're a person that remembers things by colors, that's pretty useful. And speaking of colors and highlights, so one of the things that happens often in Go is you shadow a variable, right? So let's say parse returns nothing. I need to find something that returns listen and serve, right? Listen and serve returns an error, or by default. So let's say I have an error, right? And I do this. Now, one of the problems in Go is that if you do something like error equals fmt print line, I think, you will see that you've shadowed a variable. So for whatever reason, right now, you wouldn't be able to access the original error value. You would see the shadowed one here. So when you panic here, you'd have a problem because you're not handling the variable, the value that you're expecting, you're handling something else, right? And that's something that's possible to do with only just colors. So without customizing the IDE with any special inspection yet, you can do that. And also, if you look at the screen now and you see where my cursor is, you'll be able to see all the occurrences of the error variable, which is also useful to have a look and see, okay, where do I use the error? Do I actually use it where I think it is or not? So again, something that's very useful for me. But if you click on or use Alt F7, which is find usages, you'll also be able to see something a bit more detailed about it. So you'll be able to see where the variable is declared, and you can jump on it by clicking on it, or you can see where it's used. And in this case, it's used for read, which you can see the line, and then you have a little preview window which tells you everything about it. And yeah, that's pretty useful. Another useful feature that I want to quickly demonstrate about this, let's say I want to see where all listen and serve calls are happening. So if I use Control B or Command B to navigate to the declaration, I see the declaration of the function and so on. So let's say I do find usages again. So now this one is going to search literally everywhere, both in my project and in the Go path as well as in Go root to see where this is actually used. So in my case, I have almost 400 places where listen and serve is used, and I can jump to everywhere. And I have a little preview window which tells me, yes, okay, so I can quickly have a look around without having to open the file. So you can imagine in a big project that could be useful as well. And let's see. Another thing related to this one maybe, and probably we'll get near the end so that people can have some questions as well, is the quick definition. So let's say I use the find action again, and I start typing the quick definition, right? Which in this case would be Control-Shift-I. And you can see the function definition, again, without leaving your file, the file that you're editing. So you can have a look, especially when debugging, this could be very useful to understand what's happening in the function and read it without having to jump to it. Or if you want, you can right-click on the tab name and do a split vertically, horizontally, and that's it. You can basically split your view as you want, and then all the actions are individual to the panel that you're seeing. So for example, here I still have my code, my original code, but now I can see the print or listen and serve definitions. So yes, you have a lot of capabilities out of the box to edit this.
When you hit that find all definitions for listen and serve, I can absolutely see myself using that 100 times a day. I always get lost trying to find where I did this thing before. I know I solved this problem once. I know I've used this. Where's the source code? And with my 26 gigabyte Go path, it's never easy to find that project. So going into the finding all usages of something like listen and serve, that would be really awesome to have.
Yep. So yeah, that's pretty useful to have, especially if you need to work on, let's say, a project that's then reused in your Go path. That's true.
Right.
Yeah, go ahead if you have any suggestion or question or anything, because there are simply too many things that I can show, so I'm not really sure. What to show. For example, you said you turned off folding for everything, but the imports, on the other hand, I turned on folding for errors, and the IDE can basically shrink the line that's, let's say, return an error. I'm not really sure if it's visible. Let me see. So the usual, if error is not nil, return something, right? You can basically fold that in a single line, so you don't have to see all that extra text. Or another feature that I'm not really sure if you know it, Brian, but maybe this will be useful coming from other languages. So let's say you're typing error, right? And now you type a dot because you're used to do that from, let's say, PHP, I don't know. The IDE now knows how to show you, besides the standard error function for the error interface, it can also show you something like panic. So you can basically have a, I think it's called suffix completion, where you type what you need and that. So my workflow is, for example, error not nil, which is a shortcut. So NN, and then it expands to automatically have all the if error is not nil. And then if I want to say error.return, I just type error.re, and that's it. So I always keep the focus on what I need to do as a variable and what I need to do with it. And you can print it or do something else as well.
So I think what we've proven today is that I'm using 2% of the capabilities of the IDE, and I already loved it. Using the other 98% will probably cause my head to explode with excitement.
Yeah, there's a lot of things that are here to show, and you probably can find a presentation from one of the JetBrains developer advocates, Hadi Hariri. I hope I spelled his name right. Not really sure. Showing you the tips and tricks about IntelliJ IDEA itself, and most of them apply to GoLand as well. And
why?
Go ahead.
Why is it, Florin, that you and Dominic have special cases in the Gopher bot for our Slack room? And why do I not have a special case? I see there's no case statement for B. Kettleson. Is there a particular reason for that?
Right. So let's find out, right? That's a good one. So let's say I want to see the where users are used, right? Because there's something going on here. So I'm going to go to the usages with the find usages, and I see here that, for example, the bot will notify me whenever it starts. So I use this one to track whenever Gopher deploys on Kubernetes to ping me a direct message and say, hey, I've just deployed my version and this is the version that I have. So you can.
Very nice.
I can track what happens there, but I also have a. We've lifted that restriction. There's a channel from which we are tweeting using the bot. So, yeah.
That's awesome. This find usages with the quick preview on the right side is terribly handy. I'm going to start using that. That was Alt F7, right?
Yes, Alt F7, and you can customize it. Oh, and speaking of customization, if you go to Keymaps, you can either search for whatever you want to find. So let's say usages, and you find all sorts of usages. Or you can click on a button next to the search window, and let's say it says find shortcut, and you just type Alt F7, and it sends you directly to the action in the item.
That's handy. So I could use this to remap all of my favorite muscle memory Vim commands to this. Like I use F3 for nerd tree, so I could use F3 to open the project window. I use F4 to show the tags window, so I could open up the code structure window with that. That would be really handy too. Just make me feel even more at home.
Yeah, pretty much. And if you're using OS X, you have dedicated shortcuts for OS X. If you're used to Visual Studio or Emacs, you have dedicated shortcuts for that. Eclipse as well. So like, if you're used to other editors, you basically can jump in and be a bit more familiar with the IDE. Oh, and one last thing before we jump to questions, I promise. So one of the cool features is that so you've shown the completion working, right? And it was all nice and fun there. But what happens with completion, there are two modes. There's the basic completion, which is pretty cool as it is. And there's a smart completion mode, which allows you to basically have on the screen of items only what makes sense in terms of types. So for example, I'm trying to find, I will probably go back to the other project. Give me a second. This one. So I was playing around earlier with this. So let's say I have this function here, which I will comment for a second. And I don't know what to type now as a programmer for the HTTP handle function, right? I kind of have the parameter, the pattern. If you type Control-Shift-Space, it will help you out. So it will show you only either the router or the nil value. Or because otherwise it will show you a bunch of other things which are useful as well. But if you really need to narrow down everything to just what you have available, in there you can use the smart completion, and there it is.
That's handy.
Yes, that is very cool, especially on a new code base where you don't know everything about it. And here as well. So for example, the handle func. If I start the basic completion, it recommends a function because that's what it expects, right? So if I select that one, pressing enter or tab, it already pre-fills all the things that the function needs. So I don't need to do that.
Wow.
Yeah. This one I think will be available in the EAP 9, which is going to happen soon-ish, as far as I know.
See, I'm not going to use that. That's going to make me lazy. I don't want that.
Yeah, so it's pretty useful, especially if you're having to do a lot of things like this. So, yeah.
All right, should we answer some of these questions that people have sent to us?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, we do have a couple of questions. So first question, is there any plans to add or improve the integration with CGO to make it easier to navigate in C code? As far as I know, there is no nearest plans about that. Maybe in future, but not something soon. Another comment, would be nice if that download missing drivers messages were at a top level message visible in the main frame rather than buried in settings. Well, that's pretty fair comment, and I'll report that after the webinar, and I believe we can make it better. Then a question, how do I move all the windows collapsed as you have it? I believe Yeah, this question refers to the action how to minimize all the tool windows, or, well, you can say maximize the editor. It's called toggling maximizing editor, I believe. Shift command F12.
Let me see. Shift command. Yep, that's the one.
Exactly.
Oh, that's awesome. I can use a keyboard shortcut to do. I got to learn all these keyboard shortcuts. That's great.
Yeah, which is cool about this action. If you press it twice, it gets you back all your tool windows, and the focus stays in the editor. Okay, why Go to implementation works extremely slow with big interface? I believe it has a lot to do with the way the type system is designed in Go, and in particular the implementing interface implicit logic. So we have to check if all the functions are defined within the struct, so we understand where to navigate. And this is kind of trade-off between the speed when you try to go to inheritors, or when you change structs, when you change your code. Okay, there's a question about the font used by Florin. Florin, which font do you use? It looks good.
That's a very good question. Let me see. So color. Fonts. So I use I think this one is the default in Windows. It's called Consolas, and it's a size of 13 by default for me. Oh yeah, and the IDE supports font ligatures. That's if someone likes those, that's just a click away.
Oh, thanks. And next question, should I use GoLand or my IntelliJ Ultimate with the Go plugin? What is the difference? There is almost no difference, I think. Maybe when you use IntelliJ Ultimate, you'll see a lot of other stuff which may be sometimes not relevant to Go. And if you want to see only Go related actions, menus, and so on, then I would recommend GoLand.
There's one thing, if I can jump in. You get a lot of neat features, like the automatic opening of your folder. So when you, let's say, try to use file open, it knows already how to go in your Go path, rather than the IntelliJ, which has to open in a default location, but the Go plugin can't really hijack that part. So that's very, very useful. If you're using GoLand, you can just jump directly in Go path, or it's a bit faster for me, at least. It feels faster to start or to use, because you don't have all the other things. So
yeah, totally agree. Okay, and next question about Bazel. We use Bazel for building our Go project, and that causes us headaches in GoLand since dependencies are not brought into the Go path. We get around this using symlinks, but it's brittle. Do you have any idea or experience using Bazel with GoLand? Well, I just talked to Alexander from the team, and he confirmed that there'd been an issue, and well, as you know, there's a plugin, Bazel support for IntelliJ IDEA, and just recently we've added an API which hopefully will address the issue, and we expect they'll use it and make it better. How there was a comment about how fast should be indexing of 26 gigabytes. Okay.
it depends on the plugins.
Yeah. Question, any tips for using the debugger? Well, what comes to my mind, one good thing is when you are in the debugger mode and you stopped at a breakpoint, you can press Alt and then hover some symbol, and then click it, and the IDE will evaluate the value of this variable or whatever, and will show it. On Linux, it might be a little bit different, but it works in the same way.
Now, what debugging technology does the IDE use in the background? Is it using Delve?
Yes.
It is. I have never debugged a Go program, so I'm going to have to try that just to see how nicely it works. Are you going to demonstrate for us on the screen?
Let me see. I'm not really sure. So I've started the debugger. Let me quickly here. So yeah, you basically have that. One neat feature I've seen people like as well is the fact that you can see the variable and their values directly. So for example, I know that W is a response writer and R is a request, and it's already pre-filled there, right? So if I say jump in with F8, you can see debug mode, for example, which is false. So you don't have to think about that or look on the variables. You just have to read the line that you have. So it could be pretty useful.
Yeah,
that is really nice. All right, I'm going to try debugging today. I've got a mission.
Okay. Next question. Is it possible to open multiple projects at once in Preview? Well, it is not possible to open several projects. What you can do is to go to project structure and then add more content routes. And then you'll see these content routes in your project tree. And basically, it will work like multiple projects. I believe Florin right now is showing how it works.
Yep. So I'm trying to keep up a bit with the presentation. I haven't used it personally because I don't have that use case, but yes, that's how it would look like. And you'll be able to see all your files and so on. You'll be able to run the configuration as you expect, and so on and so forth. So
okay. Yep. Next question: how to work with linter in GoLand, for example, meta linter. Florin, do you think you could comment on that?
Right. So GoLand has the built-in inspections that you're familiar probably with other IntelliJ-related IDEs, but they don't really cover everything that Go meta linter covers, mostly because some of the inspections don't make sense in the IDE. You can see the inspections under the editor inspections and the Go section, and you can see whatever GoLand has. But if you really, really want to use Go meta linter, you have a thing called external tools under the tools menu, and you can add your tool. So Go meta linter, you can say, okay, whatever a description for you. You can choose when to activate, and then you'd simply have to say Go meta linter, and then the parameters that you need. I'm not really familiar with Go meta linter and exactly which parameters it needs, but you can specify a lot of them out of the box, and you have macros for things like I think working directory and so on and so forth. So have a look at the help manual for how to configure a external tool, or ping me on Gopher Slack, Twitter, and so on, and I can help you with that. But yeah, external tools.
With those external tools, you can use macros like something that says give me the current file or give me the current package, or all of those macros are built in, right? I know that I configured something very similar to that when I was setting up external build tools like Buffalo Dev. So I found that very useful.
Yep. So you have like project path or whatever
you
need to do. Yep.
Okay.
Andy, then how would you execute that external tool?
Right. So
under the tool.
Yes. So it would you would right click on it and for example, metal inter, or if you go to keyboard shortcuts, you'd say go meta linter, and you'd have the option to assign a shortcut to it. So
so you could bind an extra Keymap. That's beautiful.
Yes, so you can do that as well. And there's another mode which I don't really recommend, because that one is probably going to give you the worst experience, using the file watcher plugin, and that's going to give you the worst experience, because you have to save the file, and then the IDE needs to do all the saving, reloading, and so on and so forth. So it's not a nice experience. That's why the IDE has all the inspections built in, and you can basically configure the same thing. You can say, oh, I need a file watcher, and yeah, you can choose whatever you need to watch in here. We can probably have a blog post on how to do this if.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's almost a philosophical difference then between the text editor world that I come from, which is, we have everything triggered on save. Exit, when I hit write, I run the meta linter, I run go build, I run go test. All of those things are triggered in Vim for me, and it seems like the IDE is doing that continuously for me. There's no real need to have most of that triggered on save event, because it's already being done.
Exactly. So
IDEA.
Yeah, exactly. You get all the inspections run as you type, so it doesn't need to do all the file saving on disk and synchronization and so on. And you can even have the tests to run on save. So that's an option already built in.
Is there now? I'm going to ask you a question completely out of the blue. Is there a test output window so you can see the status of your tests while you're running?
Right. If I would actually have something with tests in it, let's see.
You've got tests. There you go. Just add a test real quick for the bot.
Okay, so you could, let's say, run this, and let's wait a bit for it to compile. And it says, oh, okay, that's not useful. Let's run it again. So you basically would have the test runner here showing you what happened. You can also see all the tests that run and their output and so on.
That's exactly what I was looking for.
Yep. And there's a little
a tree view.
Yep. So there's a little button here called auto test. So it would run automatically every time you do something. So.
Oh, perfect. I love it.
Yeah,
I've learned. This is the only time I've ever hosted a webinar where I've learned more than I've taught.
So yeah, you can pretty much play about it, and it's really cool. There's another feature I really like, is it saves the execution profiles, so you can always go back in time for, I think, a part of them, and you can see what happened previously in the previous run and what the output was and so on and so forth. So you can see if you've made any progress or not in your tests.
Nice.
Yep.
Okay. Next question. To create a quick Go application, I have to first create a directory, then create a new main Go program, then write a bit, and then first Go build and Go run to test. If I want to write something else alongside to test an assumption, I have to do 4 steps again in a separate editor to run that code, as opposed to PowerShell, where I can run individual files without creating a folder for them to live in. It may be just a Go thing, but being able to have multiple projects open at once would be interesting. While I'm not totally understand the case, maybe Scratch files could help here. If you need to test something very quickly, you can create a Scratch file, and it supports running, so you can run a Go program from there. What Scratch file is a temporary file. You just open it, you write something, you run it, and then you close it and forget it.
Oh, that's really handy.
I'm not really sure how
Wow.
to run it now. So you can just write
Just go run.
Yeah, and you can say build,
Right
and
click.
it will beat that one. I'm not
Oh,
really sure why that is not there anymore.
Super handy.
Yeah.
Especially in teaching, I would use that all day long because somebody says, well, what would happen if you did X and Y and Z? I always have to create a new project and litter up my Go path with all of these tiny projects that demonstrate something.
No,
Scratch file would be perfect for that.
Yeah, so you have the Scratch files, and it's Control-Alt-Shift-Insert on Windows, and you have a bunch of other languages. So you have not only Go, but you have, let's say, Postgres, right? Or if I actually have typed correctly Postgres, you can play around with your SQL queries, and you can see all of those in the structure. In the structure in the Scratches part from here. So you can save them for later if you need. They won't be lost.
Wow, that's fantastic.
So yeah.
Okay. Let me find next question. When is GoLand going to go to the pay model and of the EAP? Well, there is no certain date. As far as I know, we aim for the end of the year, maybe middle fall, I would say. The better we know the date, we'll publish news about that in our blog. Once GoLand goes to the pay model, will the plugin continue to be updated? Well, if the question refers to the new plugin, which is based on the GoLand code base, it will be synced with GoLand. And if the question refers the original open source plugin, I don't think they are synced in any way, but I know that the team spent some time to contribute there. Okay, when there will be a support for test debugging?
It already is, so you can debug your tests today. You can either create a run configuration or just click on that, and it will run out of the box with the test debugger.
Brilliant.
And yeah, you can customize everything for it afterwards in the customization window.
Yep. And next question, I used to have an AND plugin in IntelliJ IDEA. It apparently doesn't work in GoLand. I believe AND depends on Java support in IntelliJ IDEA, and it's not compatible with GoLand, but that could be one of the cases for using IntelliJ IDEA Ultimate, I believe. Is remote debugging supported with Delve? From what I know, this support is coming quite soon. So yeah, I would recommend to stay tuned. Maybe there'll be some news very soon about that. Okay.
So that might even answer the next question, which is running with the Dockerized environment. If remote debugging is available, I can imagine with all of the different run configurations that are available, you should be able to create a run configuration that does a Docker exec. And I'm just saying that based on my experience, not on actually doing it. But I can't see any reason why you wouldn't be able to create a run configuration that executed the code inside a Docker container. It should be okay. All of the variables for your project are available in the run configuration dialog, so it should be able to happen.
So there's a Docker plugin which you can use today, and it doesn't really support Go yet. And my Docker installation is broken, that's why I can show you. but there's a like if you're on a proper supported machine, Linux or OS X or Windows, which has a working configuration, you can choose today to run the Docker file, and yeah, it will detect the Docker file from everywhere, not just your project. You can configure that. You can launch the Chrome already, and there's little configuration that you need to do. But it doesn't fully integrate with Go as you suggested yet. You still have to write your own bits and pieces to have the Docker file.
Yeah. One more question. Also, does GoLand support Glide as well as Go Depths? Florin, is that something you could comment on?
Running Glide or GoDepths as tools themselves, no, you don't have support for that. You only have support for Go Get, so you can choose to go get something from the IDE that's not there. But if you use them from command line, you have support for vendoring that's been in since day zero. So as you can see here, I have GorillaMux in my vendor path, and when I navigate to it shows the proper file, and it loads from the vendor.
Yep. One more question about Docker. Can you run inside a Docker container like with PHP Storm? There is no Go specific support for Docker yet, but general support is there, so you can install the Docker plugin and see how it works. You can run, you can configure containers, run them, stop them, manage them like in PHP Storm. Florin right now showing the run configuration. So in order to run a Docker container, you first have to install the plugin, then configure it like Florin shows right now, and then you'll see a Docker tool window where you're able to see all the running containers and also all the images available. And then you go to run configuration, you create a new run configuration, and you specify all the settings for this container, and then you simply run it, and you'll see it in the Docker tool window then. Okay, a couple of more questions about the debugger, but I believe we already answered that. I think that's all, and we actually run out of time already, and we'll check all the questions again after the webinar, and we'll put them into the blog post so everyone can see all the answers along with the recording. Yep.
There's one more thing to add. The simplest way to get any IDE from JetBrains is the toolbox, which is fantastic, and I want to thank you guys for that. It's been amazing. It shows you the IDEs that you have available. It updates the IDEs when updates are available as well, and you literally have all the control on it in a single place, and you can manage your projects from there as well. So, for example, if I want to go to Gopher, I can just click on it and it will open in the editor that I want. So it's pretty cool. If you don't know about it, try the JetBrains toolbox, and it's going to change the way how you use the IDE.
Yep.
Interesting.
Thanks for this feedback.
Yeah,
I'll convey it to the team.
It's pretty cool, and you can, if you go, for example, to a GitHub and you have the Chrome extension, you can also open the thing directly in GoLand and so on. So it's pretty awesome.
Yep. So, all right. Thanks, Brian and Florin and everyone who joined the webinar. Thanks for your time. I think that's it, and stay tuned. Have a good day. Bye, everyone.
Thank you very much for having us.
Thanks for having me, Florin. Thanks for teaching me so much. I really appreciate it. This is a great opportunity for me too.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you. And yeah, feel free to ping me if needed. See ya.
Okay, take care. Bye.